Hello, Renaissance Workshops. Checking in, checking in with a cold uh, from my slightly sick bed up in the loft in our tiny house. Outside, it's still raining, raining, raining. It's winter here in New Zealand, and I got a bit chilled there at Dream Space, so I'm taking a day off. But I thought I'd tell the story of my green man, and it just occurred to me to say that art is biography, autobiography usually. So when I first got the stone that was harvested from the beach, I I thought, what could it be? What could it be made into? And I made a female tiki for my daughter, and then I cut another piece, and the big piece, a bigger slab of it, I thought, I see a green man in this. I see a rejoicing, happy, healthy, strong, a green man. And I thought, I will start carving it. But what happened was, it gradually became me, and the snake appeared, and the tree, the apple tree, the tree of the tree of life. And I thought, this is about death, despair, sacrifice, the snake in the garden, and hope. So I ended up with the green man is holding a candle. He has a tree of life on his head, as well as my signature hat. And there's thorns, and he has a swollen foot. And there's a funny story to that, significant art, a life imitating art, that while I was still carving this, the foot was actually bigger than it is now. And in the course of that, I was up a ladder, and the ladder slipped on the wet deck, and I broke my heel, that same heel, the left heel. And through that, I asked, why did this happen? And I thought, surely this broken heel must be a significance from my Christian background. I thought, okay, it's to do with the snake, the force of evil, the force of, and I thought karma, the force of cause and effect. And what did I do that caused me to be open to this injury? And I very soon realized, well, I was installing a beautiful stove from Homewood Stoves, and I had made somewhat light of a very traumatic event in my brother-in-law's and sister's life. And without going into it, the upshot was I realized that they had been traumatized by my making light of something that for them was absolutely traumatic. And so I wrote them a letter, and I apologized for dishonoring them in that way, unintentionally, but nevertheless, when it comes to matters of karma and cause and effect and consequences, it's not. You can't you can't let yourself off. You're not let off the hook by just saying, "Oh well, I didn't really know fully." So after I wrote that, my sister said, this is the best present I've had, because it was her birthday, best birthday present ever. And I got a letter from my brother-in-law who basically cut me off for 7 years, roughly. And I understand totally why he did. And he said, brother, you're welcome at my house anytime. This was a complete turnaround. Unexpected by me. I just unconditionally acknowledged that I hadn't fully honored their deep feelings, and that was it. All I had to do was to acknowledge and to honor. And according to Anne Hamiltin, who's written books on it, which the book on Leviathan in particular came out, and this was all about honoring, and that we're open to Leviathan, one of the avenging spirits or similar, who has allowed access to our lives if we dishonor something or someone. And so I got that. I understood exactly what was happening. So I continued with the carving, and as I did it, I was reading about the conscious versus the unconscious. And this side is really very much the conscious with the light, holding the candle, the thinking man, the Renaissance man, if you like. But he's struggling in his right, you notice his right hand. I realize this, his right hand is unable to reach and deal with the snake of evil, which is coiling over his shoulder, and it is devouring the apples of the tree of life. But then when I was telling it the story of this to my wife, I was turning it over, and I'll show you the unconscious side in a moment. But as you turn it over, between the conscious and the unconscious, you notice something that was completely unplanned, and that is that his right hand has become a striking snake, and it's actually able to strike at the head of the snake of evil. And make of that what you will, but there it is, the snake head at on the right arm of the angsty green man. So turning it over, we have the unconscious and the archetypal level, and here we have ear has not heard nor eye seen that which God, the mystery, the source, has prepared for those who love him or it. So here's the cross, which on a deep level, archetypally, it represents the crossing of the will, the crossing of good versus evil. And in the middle is if you like, the balance, the rose of inner wisdom and mystical wisdom, which is found at the heart of suffering and the crossed will. So, as Nietzsche, who was anti-Christian, but he said many things that you could just reinterpret and say, well, that's part of the perennial wisdom. It's not inconsistent with mystical Christianity. He said, life itself said to me, I am that which must overcome itself again and again. So death, resurrection. So as I was carving, I thought, where is the woman? Where is Mary Magdalene? Because she was the courageous one who came first to the grave and found that the stone had been rolled aside. And she said to the man, thinking he was the gardener, where is my Lord? You know, they've taken him. I don't know where they have laid him. And then she realized it is him. And so here she is with her arm outstretched to the suffering that she is only too recent. But then her other hand is holding the magical grail, which represents the new life that can come out of death. And down the bottom, it's flowing like a river coming out from the results of the sacrifice. So I'm not yet, again, a practicing or a simple Christian, but the perennial philosophy is totally in agreement with many of the deeper sayings that are and the more mysterious sayings and doings of that person that we call Jesus Christ. And we all have to make our peace one way or another with suffering, with death, and with the question of what is the meaning of it all. So I'll just say over and out from the suffering, but rejoicing Renaissance Workshops, Peter Harris. And of course in the background we have the terrible suffering of what I would say GOLLUM, the mystical meaning of GOLLUM. What is he? He is Frodo's, if you like, the shadow side, and in his quest to get rid of the ring of sin, the ring of evil, the ring of the will to dominate rather than to love, that ring had to go all the way to Mount Doom be thrown in the fire. But in the end, Gollum himself followed him through dust and ashes all the way into the fire, to the fiery pit. And Gollum himself, at the very end, the shadow side, had to actually grasp at the ring one last time and then perish in the fire. And then, and only then, was Frodo released from the burden of his shadow side and the dark side, and was able to, well, go home, and the eucatastrophe was complete. So, yeah, just looking at what he says there, very well, he answered aloud, lowering his sword, for still I am afraid, and yet, as you see, I will not touch this creature, for now that I see him, I do pity him. So, we pity, but nevertheless, the pitiless truth is that this evil principle, this shadow, must die in order that the light side, our true self, may be freed forever.